What is up? It's Lit Book Reviews here to do yet another one. This is the podcast where we discuss all things books. I am Donald Cowboy Cerrone. With me, as always, is Alex Cowboy Oliveira. And we're happy to bring you yet another one. You didn't know about that one, did you?
I didn't know they had the same.
Yeah, you got two Cowboys in the UFC. Donald's retired. I don't know if Alex is. I think he's kind of getting up there. But anyway. We're here to do yet another one. Today, we're discussing the first in a trilogy, which you may have seen a few of those as of late. We're getting into the Nevernight Chronicle now by Kristoff, the first book being Nevernight. So we're going to do a little non-spoiler discussion, and then in a bit we will talk spoilers for those of you that have read it, or if you don't want to or don't care about spoilers. So to give you the tail of the tape here, this book came out back in 2016. I actually thought it was older.
I did too.
2016. It's got 95,000 ratings, and out of 5 stars on Goodreads, it's got an overall average of 4.23. So this one, we got a young girl becoming an assassin, pretty much. All right, so you guys know what's going on. All right. We've all seen this one before. Not to throw shade, but that's the gist of what you're getting into if you have not read this.
I mean, not to read my review immediately, but that was literally. Have you read my review yet? I know I posted it recently. I typed out.
Yes, I did.
You
want me to read it, or do you want to read it?
You can read it if you want, real quick. Do you have it pulled up?
Yeah, I got it right here. So on March 5th, 2024, Andrew Loach of It's Lit Book Reviews left this review alongside a 3-star rating out of 5. I want to preface this review by stating I have overread the young girl assassin trope. Overall, the storyline was solid, but the drawbacks come with the YA-themed conversations/interactions and Jay's way of overwhelming you with his extremely specific way of using literary devices. This is a series that I feel like may get better as it continues, but leaves you questioning if it's worth the risk. I mean, I could not have said it better myself. I think we're in the same spot. You gave it a 3.4 out of 5 at the end of your review as a more dialed in rating, and I would leave it at a 3, just flat 3, but I agree with this review wholeheartedly.
Yeah, we've read a bunch of this vibe recently, and I wonder if that's why I tried to preface it by that, because I feel like if I read it and it's a girl that's 16, even if it's intriguing, I almost am already checked out now, just because
yeah,
it just feels like we've been there, done that a lot.
Of the same themes. Yeah, which, I mean, we've also, to be fair, been reading a lot of intro to New World fantasy, like the first book in a series or trilogy. So we're kind of doing it to ourselves as far as, reading similar things in that we're doing that. But yeah, I mean, between reading the Mistborn trilogy at the end of last year, the Founders trilogy,
Fifth
season wasn't really an assassin, but it was still the young girl and
young sorcerer learning those stories. Magic. Yeah.
We read Blood Over Brighthaven, so we've just had a lot of these, and they've all. Let me back up. They haven't all been good. Some of them have been absolutely amazing. Some of them have been outright trash. This was in the middle for me. It was a cool story. It's not something if someone was wanting to get into fantasy, even specifically this trope, I wouldn't recommend this. There's parts of this that I absolutely did not like. I'll go ahead and say now that it took about 150 pages before I felt confident that I'd be able to get through this book, man. And it goes away after the first 100 or so pages, man, but his writing style in the beginning, I mean, I swear to God, dude, I wanted to burn this book on a stake. I was so tired of the way that he was writing. I just got to be real.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't like it, man. When these writers start trying to get funny with the way they're writing, they try to be cheeky, I'm just like, dude, I'm not here for that. I know you're clever. Yeah. You're an author, bro. Give me a good story. All right. But it did go away.
I mean, this is YA too, though. And we don't really, that's not really a genre that we read a lot. Yeah. So I feel like for a different audience, this may be perfect. But yeah, for us, it's just, it was, like you said, it was good, but it's just not, I could tell it wasn't written for us. So
yeah, and
I try to take that into account too.
Yeah, and we've been very and for the last, several years or whatever, but also since we started doing the podcast thing, like we've been pretty diverse in like what we're reading, but this is the first time like where we've been really consistently reading similar things. So I think it's not a surprise. Maybe if we had read these in a different order, we'd think higher of Nevernight and less of Foundry Side or something like that. But it is what it is. The cookie crumbled as it did, and this one was just middle of the road, Jack.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure. That's it's a cool story. It's got its ups and downs, man. There are parts that like were pretty hype and pretty cool, but there's some solid lulls. There are some valleys that you have to trod through to get to those moments, in my opinion. It's not fifth season. It's not that bad, but it's not great. Not. I'm not gonna remember this book, and who knows if we'll end up reading the sequel sooner or later. But it's not something I'm yearning to continue in.
Yeah, me either.
You feel that way.
I think if you're interested in dark academia, I mean that's like a main theme in this. I can't say I feel like the plot is super, like the twist at the end that happens. It really just. Like, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it more in depth in the spoilers part, but it was like, okay. I don't know. I don't know if that was just me, but also, I mean, I know you'll have something to say about this too. I audibled the last like 8 chapters, and dude, you were right, bro. The person they chose to do the narration was such a bad choice, dude. Because like you said, it's a guy, but it's a guy narrating it, but it's the girl is Mia is a girl who's the main character.
Yeah, she's the main character in the
him doing her voice was just, I mean, it takes you out of it so bad, dude. Him like trying to do a teenage girl voice was brutal. I mean, it was
terrible. And I audibled probably over in all like half this book. I read the first 150 pages, and then I had to audible. I could not get through it, and it wasn't even a question in my mind. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that when that audio started, I was going to hear a girl's voice. And then I heard a dude narrating. I could have just looked at it and saw that it was a male's name. That was such a bad call, dude. This is like, I get that the technical narration, seemingly is from a guy's perspective, like the POV, but I don't care, dude. All the talking, like this dude goes into this and if you're going to be a guy, don't do a female voice when you're talking about, dude. I can do that myself, bro. You sound like an idiot. You're not a girl, bro. You sound like an idiot. Especially if you have that speed cranked up at all, dude.
Oh yeah,
like which I did. Idiot.
Well, it's sad because I think it would have hit more. Like the end of it would have hit more, but anytime there's like a dramatic scene and maybe she's yelling or like worried about something. Really, I mean, he does. Yeah, he does something just that's so unnecessary. So yeah, that
he does.
I feel like really takes away.
Honestly,
yeah. Like, what takes away
especially
from
at 1.7 speed, man.
yeah.
And like again, not that we you use your imagination when you're reading, but when you're listening to an audible, like the voice, like, is there. So you don't need
it matters a lot.
So it just should be a girl, bro. It should be a girl if it's a girl POV, in my opinion.
I agree.
But either way,
there is something weird about a man mimicking a 16-year-old girl's voice who's in the middle of a sex scene. There's just something that just doesn't add up about that.
I'm glad you brought that up, man. I don't care. I don't, maybe a lot of book readers, maybe I'm a novice, maybe I'm a wuss. I don't know. But dude, I don't need a single freaking line of this smut bullshit, dude. I do not need that, bro. We all know what happens during sex. It's just like, what are you trying to accomplish? It's just again, dude, the main part of the book I listened to on Audible, bro. I'm driving down the interstate in between jobs at work, listening to this freaking sus loser
do
this sex scene in a girl's voice. I was just like, oh my gosh, bro. It was just terrible, bro. I don't know who needs that in their life. Like, watch porn if you need it that bad and get it over.
Especially the
God,
metaphors, dude, that he uses, because obviously he doesn't like say specific names for the most part. For like genitalia, he'll like come up with another word like bud or length, and it's like, oh, dude, Jay, come on, man. Like that doesn't make it better. Like that literally makes it worse. But that's what I'm also concerned about, and this is probably a whole nother topic for another day. But if that's what YA is, I mean, we have an entire generation that's absolutely screwed. If this is what they're indulging in with content, I mean, I'm worried.
It can't be good for anybody. It can't be good for. And I know that there's like a huge, obviously it's mostly girls to my knowledge that like, all the different book series that have a lot of this stuff. There's obviously people that it's out there for, but it's definitely not for most guys, I would imagine. It's definitely not for you and I. So I don't understand why you'd put it into a book that, unless I'm mistaken, is meant like pretty broadly for both genders. I mean, it's just a fantasy book. So unless I'm misinterpreting the goal here, it's like, why? I just did it.
I mean, a 4-page sex scene is, I mean, come on. Like, a page is like, all right, I'll deal with a page, but when I'm having to turn the page multiple times and it's still going on, I'm like, all right. Well, I mean,
dude, and if a book is like about that, like it's what it like. Obviously, I'm not going to be reading, but if a book is about it, okay, that's what we're here for. When you do this for 4 or 5 pages and it adds absolutely nothing to the plot, and you could have in one paragraph explained to me that they closed the door and locked it behind them and had a good time. Why do I need all this other stuff, bro? Why do I need it? Again, dude, I don't know what it is about these fantasy writers. Again, I love fantasy, but my real break into fantasy is Lord of the Rings growing up and then getting into Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson doesn't have any kind of stuff like this in his book, so maybe it's partially that. But
yeah,
dude, it just takes
because it adds nothing to the plot. I mean, it's all these that we're thinking back on. I mean, none of them. All these fantasy writers like
make it. Like, all these fantasy writers make it so freaking weird, dude. In this one, the sex scene comes after a flashback when she's 14 years old. And it's just like, what are you on, Jay? Like, what are you on right now? Like, it was unclear to me exactly when the scene happened, like how old she was, because I was kind of confused as to where I was in the timeline. I'm like, what is going on, dude? And it's the same thing with like Brent Weeks. Like, they're always obsessed with this underage crap. And I get to represent the real world that people go through horrible shit like these types of things, like what's in The Way of Shadows. But dude, I don't need you exposing my mind to it so explicitly in such explicit terms. Like, just chill out for a second.
I will say, like, at least Brent Weeks, I mean, I'm not trying to defend Brent Weeks. I'm going to go ahead and make that disclaimer before I say what I'm about to say.
Make that clear.
But, I mean, it wasn't 5 pages worth, like, it was graphic and it was definitely uncalled for. So, Brent, I mean, that is on you, man, and you're going to have to take accountability for that when you take your last breath. But, I mean, still, it was maybe half a page. So it's like, okay, Jesus, Brent, what just happened? But Jay, I mean, it's like, dude, I mean, come on, brother. Like, let's get this over with. And so thankfully I was reading at this point. So, I mean, you better believe I was hard skimming just to make sure like no one gets killed during this or like anything savage happens. I was hard while I was skimming. I mean, skimming hard, like quickly. But it's just,
jeez. I mean, when I'm hearing it, dude, all I'm thinking, I'm not even hearing, like when I was listening to this on Audible, I'm not even hearing the words, bro. All I'm doing, bro, is going, Jay. I literally, bro, out loud was audibly saying, Jay, what are you doing? Jay, what's going on? Like, why are you doing this? This is a grown man that's sitting here telling me about a girl sucking a dude off. Like, dude, grow up. Honestly, just grow up for a second and chill out. Like, God, dude, I don't get it, man. And again, maybe I haven't read like Game of Thrones. I know the show and the books are supposedly similar. It's like, it's super dark, super graphic.
Bro, it's not like that. The books are not like that. I'm telling you.
Okay, well,
like there's sex scenes, but it is not like
you're
this.
In a super dark, like nasty world. It's one thing, but again, I'm sitting here reading a book that I've established in my mind is probably YA and meant for people younger than me, and then that happens, and I'm like, jeez, Jay,
Jay. That's what I don't. It makes me worry about what my sister's reading. Like, it genuinely makes me worry. I'm like, do we need to stop allowing people to read? Like, I mean, Jesus, but anyway.
Well, you're getting real Stalin real quick.
I mean, let's burn all these books.
Oh anyway. Man, but yeah, again, this that clearly wasn't for us. I don't think this book was necessarily for us. It seems kind of YA. Again, the story's cool. I don't know. Do you have anything else to say, non-spoiler? I can't recommend this wholeheartedly to anybody.
I don't know if I can either. I think that it is for people. I think there are people that this is for sure for. Yeah, whereas like the 5th season, I don't understand who the 5th season's for. Whereas Nevernight, like I could see where some other people would like it because maybe it's not. It does feel like it may be an attempt, and I just feel like it needs to be branded like this more. And maybe it is, and we just missed it. But I mean, this is a YA take on fantasy. Like this is 1000% YA, and I would not. like tell someone to read this unless if they knew it was YA and they were cool with that. And if they're cool with that, then I think that they're probably going to like it, because there's enough good fantasy elements that, you know, if you're cool with the whole YA themes, then you'll be good. Because, I mean, I think some parts of the magic system, some parts of the schooling thing are interesting. Some of the characters are interesting. And then, like in my review, I do think that for some reason this is the weakest of the trilogy. Even though I haven't read the rest of this trilogy, I just have a good feeling for some reason.
God save the Queen.
This is the weakest one. But again, like I said in my review, I mean, I just don't know at this point in my life if I'm willing to roll the dice to find out. And I think one day, whenever I do, I'll be like, okay, you just got to get through the first one. You know, like you just got to get through it, and then it gets better.
Dude, you keep me posted.
But I just don't know if right now that is something I'm willing to do. So anyway, and it is a shame, bro, because Empire of the Vampire is so good. And in a weird way, it's the same writing style. Like there's elements where I can still see it, because you can tell he just loves like the dark vibe. Because in this, like the magic system is all based off of like shadows and darkness, which is the same in Empire of the Vampire. So I can see where, man, he just loves a specific theme. But anyway, I don't know what I thought this book was going to be. You know,
I had no expectation. I didn't know what it was, and it was just kind of, again, just middle of the road for me. Like if I could only, you know, recommend books that I've read, obviously it's pulling from a small pool, and someone was looking for this, I'd say read Mistborn. If they said I've read Mistborn, I'd say read Foundry Side. If they said I've read that too, I would say read Mistborn again before I told them to read this. Just go ahead and dive back in.
Just go ahead and double down. Make sure you got everything.
Double check on all that. But yeah, that's our non-spoiler review. I feel like we kind of took a shit on it. It's cool, but you know, not something I would recommend in any scenario over anything else, or over most things. So we're going to dive into some spoilers here. So if you haven't read it and you want to without it being spoiled, check out. If you don't care, which you probably shouldn't, continue on. On to non-spoilers. I mean, I'm trying to turn a leaf here in this conversation and start with something that I thought was sick. I mean, when she gets her arm chopped off by that one teacher, that was dope. I was like, wow.
That was cool.
And then 3 paragraphs later, it's back. And I was like, man, just the idea of consequences is slowly dying in my mind.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. Well,
but it is a cool thing that the sorcery they have or whatever.
Sorcery. I like I like all the teachers. I think that was a cool, you know. I like not Lord of the Rings, what was I saying? I like Harry Potter, so I mean, I like the idea of a school where you're learning stuff, and I like the idea of, you know, only a select few are going to pass, so, you know, these people that are potentially your friends are also like your enemies. And, you know, I liked that, and I thought parts of that were interesting. I thought the way that they can travel through the blood stuff was pretty interesting and cool. There's like elements that I liked. It's just, I mean, like we already kind of talked about it, but it's just, I don't know, bro. When when the guy that she's hooking up with dies, like I just didn't feel anything, and I wish I did. Yeah. And then also I don't know, like it was just, for some reason, none of it seemed to matter. And we had talked about this too. Like it felt like it took so long for anything to really happen. Like I know she was there at that school,
it's like 100 pages before she gets to the school.
And even when she's at the school, nothing's really happening because she still hasn't.
Dude, and it's like high school drama or something.
Dude, the way it's revealed too, which like, okay, the 2 big twists are, okay, the massacre that happened a couple years back, come to find out was her when she, you know, went to go break her mom out of jail or whatever.
Major Sansa vibes.
Yeah.
To not get any more spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah. It was, I don't know. I was like, first that, I felt like that should have hit more. That she was the one.
I 100% agree with you. And it just didn't, bro. And honestly, I didn't see it coming until it was first like hinted at or revealed, but it still just was like, okay, like makes sense, I guess.
Well, because he should have like hinted more at like, we don't know who it was, like, or, you know, we're still trying to figure, like, you know what I mean? Like there was no reason for me to ever think about, like, you just left assuming, oh, it was probably the one dude who's like really cool, like the other guy who's a Darkin who dies at the end. Like maybe it was him, or like there's no
which that was a huge another huge bummer, dude. You barely get anything out of that guy, and then he dies before you can get any answers or like any cool scenes from him. Really, like you see him fight a bit at the end, and it's just like, dude, you got me hype about this guy this whole book, and then he just freaking dies.
I agree. And then her best, or one of her friends, is just also the one. The twins
traitor.
or whatever.
See, I saw that one coming. I saw Ashley being a traitor like pretty early. Yeah, I was like, dude, I just know that's what's going on.
Well, I couldn't really figure it out, and I don't know if it's because I didn't care or I just am an idiot. But I mean, obviously, the freaking bald kid who I just was imagining as Zeth for some reason, who can't talk. Hush, yeah. I mean, he is literally there at all times. So I mean, I knew that they were setting him up to be a scapegoat, and so I knew it wasn't him, but I knew like they were going to try, and because it was so obvious they were trying to point it to him. But dude, what was the rationale again of why he was always out? Like he was just stealing stuff, or because she talks to him at the end, and he says like
he's
no one's
out
your
like
friend essentially
constantly.
So that was where he was at. He wasn't actually killing those people, obviously, because it was
he didn't kill him. It was the brother, Ashlyn's brother, that killed the first dude, because he just happened to see them doing something and he had to, and then they killed the other girl, Corlata, after she gave them the answers to the freaking final math exam or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, it was. It was. I think they were trying to poison everybody to like make them fall asleep so they could,
Yeah, that's what they did towards the end. That's what it was. That's what it was.
I can't remember why why did she give them that? Because
I don't remember that part either.
And I remember thinking, I don't care.
Oh, I didn't pick that up. And yeah, that's the thing.
I'm not going
back and figure it out. I was like, whatever. She did it for some reason, I guess.
And I feel like he missed the bag, bro, on her cat. That's obviously not a cat, because he loved just like really letting you know that could have been so cool. And I think he missed it a little bit. And I don't know really what it is, because I'm not a freaking author, but that is a really cool idea that somehow wasn't that cool, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, and also the delivery of it was so confusing, because it's like he becomes a knife the first time he meets her, but then he never does that again in the book, and like she could have used him as a knife at times probably, and then I don't know, man. Just
then she just levels up, bro.
Magic at all.
She levels up and can just all of a sudden jump through shadows, and I'm like, okay, that's a sick ability that
she pulls
is
a
really
convenient.
convenient.
And just has like finally lets a memory through, and then she levels up in power, which just again is fine for that to be a device that you use, but the delivery was just, I just didn't care, man. I was like, oh, of course.
The only thing that I thought, the one of the few plot devices I was like, all right, Jay, that's a good one, is when she's like in the middle of fighting that one girl, and then it's like, oh, you actually activated my trap card, and I've been planning this all along. Look at your boy, it's lunchtime. You thought he stole the correct thing, and he's really dead now. That was one of the few ones where I guess like I just maybe was paying attention enough to where I was like, okay, that was like a good thing, because I thought she was screwed essentially. But also, I mean, I know he talked about how she had been training with the one girl who was like busted. But, she obviously came out and was just super OP, and it was like, okay. I mean, and I know he was baiting it by saying that she was, not trying essentially the whole time, but it was still, And dude, this is going to, I can't even say it, but I mean, you love it when 16-year-old women are just on top of all the men in something. It's just like, come on.
Absolutely kicking names and taking ass or whatever.
Yeah, but
it's crazy.
I don't know, man. Obviously we don't get a lot of answers, and I'm sure that's what the rest of the series is for, about like, okay, what is really the differences between these two gods? Are they actually real or not? Because that's what I couldn't tell, is like, all right, is there actually like a real, is the sun god real? And is the Nyla or whatever her name is real? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are they actually real or not? Yeah. Is this just like a political thing? Because, a lot of times
did you understand like what I was saying about how ironic the end is too? And how similar it is to 5th season. Like the last word of the book is the same. It's about the moon. Like, what is a moon? Do you remember that?
Is that the epilogue book? Or is that the...
Yeah, it's literally the very end of the book. They're talking about a moon. It's Mia and somebody I can't remember. I'm pretty sure.
Is it her like in
I have
bed
no
with
idea
her
what its
wolf and
impact on the
whatever,
story
and they're like
is,
reading that thing that the librarian found?
Yes. They're reading the thing, and the moon, the map, the moon landed here.
Oh,
or
that's
something.
right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, what is a moon?
I did.
And I was just like,
I will
bro,
say,
I mean, I had
somehow the
to...
epilogue made me care a little bit more. And I can't remember why. I remember I was like, oh, I need to remember this because I need to say this.
Because she has a wolf and a kitty cat now?
No, I think
double companionship?
I can't even remember
that wolf
why.
Seems a lot cooler than the cat, for sure.
1,000, dude. I mean, the cat was not the move to do. They should have gone a whole nother like Kindly species. And that also, man, is just a tragedy.
Yeah, that sucks.
That is an absolute tragedy. But dude, and then her brother's alive apparently.
Oh yeah, that's right. Her brother's alive.
Which I feel like should have been like, really should have been talked about more. We should have gotten something probably as to what he is. He needs to be a bad guy for sure. Which maybe he is in the next book. I don't know. But that if they would have left it off with, I thought, dude, honestly, that the dude who died was somehow going to be your brother.
What dude?
The guy with the wolf. I can't remember his name because
no, dude, he was older.
Yeah, I know, but I thought somehow, because he was talking about kinship kind of at the end, as if
he called her. That's right. He called her sister. Yeah, that is true.
But I mean, I know that's probably just because they're darkened or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I can't tell, dude, if we're just in a slump or if these books are just very average.
Yeah, I mean, I just read that in a few days. I tore through that Revolutionary Russia book, and I enjoyed it more than this. So I think we're in a fantasy slump, and we've kind of done it to ourselves. But it's gonna be worth it in the end.
We're our own worst enemy.
Yeah, it'd be your own self. So, yeah, that's anything else you'd say spoiler wise? I mean, I don't know if you guys can't tell, but we don't really care about this book. So, read it at your own volition.
I got absolutely nothing.
I got nothing for you. All right, It's Lit Book Review's out. We'll see you on another one. Hopefully the next one is a better book. Peace.